HVAC during the summer and utilizing the new Motili eStore for SBOA members. Did you know that 65% of air conditioning services requests happen between May and August? SBOA and Motili have launched an online marketplace portal to deliver on-demand HVAC equipment and labor to SBOA members. This simple solution allows climate-controlled self-storage owners and operators to purchase HVAC equipment direct at a preferred pricing. In this webinar, we will cover the benefits of the new platform, Motili's direct supply program, planned and unplanned repair projects, asset tagging, and preventative maintenance for climate control self-storage facilities. Learn today how you can possibly see double-digit percentage savings versus buying through your local contractors. Hello, everyone. My name is Janice Carter-Ray, and I'm the president of Storage Business Owners Alliance, the SBOA. I'd like to welcome you all who have joined us today for this webinar and our proud partner, Motili. Before we introduce our presenter, Dave Hettinger, I'd like to talk with you for a moment about the SBOA. The SBOA now has more than 15,000 members, which results in enhancing buying power for our members. By joining together, our members are able to use the strength in numbers to obtain more valuable pricing on products and services they use every day. Our vendor partners can offer these cost savings opportunities to our members, which result in lower cost and increased profitability. Our complimentary pre-recorded webinar provides useful information on a variety of self-storage topics and are always accessible on our website for your convenience. At this time, I'd like to introduce one of our proud partners, Motili, and today's presenter, Dave Hettinger. Dave is the Senior National Account Manager at Motili. Motili's technology platform helps single-family, multifamily, and commercial property owners and operators easily manage HVAC and hot water building systems through proactive, reactive, and replacement projects. Should you have any questions following the webinar, you may direct them to Dave, dave.hettinger@motili.com. It is now my pleasure to turn it over to Dave. Thank you for joining us, Dave.
Yeah, thank you, Janice, and thank you the rest of the SBOA team, members and organizers for putting this on, and it's a pleasure to be with all of you here. As Janice mentioned, we are an HVAC vendor at heart. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about the marketplace that SBOA and Motili have joint released here as another tool for you all to purchase HVAC parts or services, as well as just provide an update of where we stand in COVID 2020 as far as HVAC goes. Not to bore you all with too much, but a little bit background on Motili. We're based out of Denver, Colorado, and were purchased by Goodman Manufacturing back in 2017 as really their approach to go direct to owners and operators such as yourself. If you have any familiarity with HVAC, you would know it follows really a two-step distribution role, where the manufacturer historically sells into a distributor, who sells to a dealer, who sends to an end user. When Goodman saw some of our technology, they saw an opportunity to really bypass some of those markups and go direct to the owners and operators, which is really where Motili was formed and created and invested in. As Janice mentioned, summer is really our busy time of year. About 65% of air conditioning service requests happen between May and August. Below, you'll see two charts here, which really show two items. The one to the left is service requests based off of outside air temperature. And what you really find here is there's a lagging request from when the heat spikes up. Typically, as that heat starts to rise, it takes a few days or a few hours for that unit to recognize how hot it is and end up failing. And usually that's why you'll see the breakdown between the red and the blue as a gap. But as heat continues to stay, you'll see that service requests go up. It's kind of unique right now. Actually, over the past few weeks, we've had sustained heat throughout the United States, and I'm sure you all are feeling that. We have seen our service request volume skyrocket here over the past week due to that sustained heat. And then the graph to the right here kind of describes that 65% workload. The blue is the air conditioning, which is primarily what we focus on. You'll see heating does skyrocket in volume throughout the colder months. And in the middle of the summer, you can see around May, it jumps up pretty fast. So we're in a unique time of the year where HVAC systems are needed to be serviced or repaired or replaced. And I don't know about all of you, but 2020 has been one of those years that has been interesting. It definitely has affected the HVAC world. For those that don't know, there's probably 4 or 5 major manufacturers in the United States. And Goodman is actually, their manufacturing facility is based out of Houston, Texas, which is one of the only manufacturers that makes everything in-house in the United States. So as we kind of approach 2020 and the COVID world we're living in, a lot of the manufacturers have not been able to make equipment, primarily because they are based off of, they rely heavily on exports or imports for their raw goods. A lot of those goods have been held up at the border here, and we're continuing to see that today. We also see that HVAC has been following a lot of what other industries, how they've been affected in this year. Since we are one of the only manufacturers up and running, the question is, how do we meet demand in a time like this where, you know, our competitors don't have equipment? It's a hot summer, you've got more people in homes, and what we're seeing is we're at about 80% to where we need to be today. The graph on the right here kind of describes of where we'll bottom out and when we'll be able to recapture that. As you see, we're already in July here. So we won't be up until to about 97% capacity until the end of the year. And that's really assuming, you know, that we're all golden from here. You know, but we are working hard to fill equipment. We, in April, shut down our factory to reorganize it for CDC guidelines and have been up and running since then. So based off our projections, we're actually looking like we should be at about 97% over the next few months here. This was a graph originally from the April timeframe when things were starting to get chaotic. As I mentioned, we are a Goodman-owned company. Goodman's parent company, Daikin, is based out of Japan, who is the largest HVAC manufacturer in the United States. And Daikin is the one that invested in a United States manufacturing facility. We're based out of Waller, Texas, which is about 30 minutes north of Houston. And it is the 3rd largest manufacturing facility in the United States, right behind Boeing and Tesla. And we don't really count Boeing because they've got a big tent that they count as square footage. So depending on who you're talking to, you know, 2nd or 3rd largest. And really everything being manufactured out of the United States has been a blessing this year. We've been able to move around equipment for customers that we, you know, historically have not been able to get equipment. And it's been overall successful. And, you know, I don't mean to kind of talk about the State of the Union as a bad side, but I think it's something that we need to acknowledge as we're heading through the end of the summer of just what the world looks like. And Goodman every day is giving us updates of things that they're doing to bring equipment in and keep customers get their equipment available. A little bit about Motili. As I mentioned, we are a technology company at heart, and our model really works like Amazon.com on the equipment side. As I mentioned, we're bypassing two-step distribution. And on the labor side, it's a lot like Uber. So we have over 2,400 HVAC companies in our network with different skill sets that as soon as a job comes across that is in their area, set to their skills, it dispatches them with the scope and time frame needed. If they're available, they're able to accept that and go on and do the work. Our distribution centers that cover all our equipment, we have over 600 points nationwide, and those vary from Goodman owned company distribution to some of our third parties like Johnstone, Ferguson, East Coast Metals that you all might be familiar with or have seen. And those all operate the same way. We have great agreements with our third party distributors as a Goodman company for them to just basically pass on the equipment through us. And it's been pretty successful. What we're really excited about right now and have probably been working the past 8 months on this is a tool for you all as SBOA members as another option to purchase either HVAC equipment or labor. This is done through the SBOA Marketplace, which launched last week. You all should receive a URL to this and be able to actually log in and kind of play around. But some of the items we're able to provide through this are heat pump systems, AC systems, condensers, air handlers, furnaces, package units, miscellaneous parts like heat strips, smart thermostats, really whatever you're looking for. And you have the ability to purchase these in a few ways. One is if you have a maintenance guy on site that's HVAC certified, or if you have a subcontractor that you really like working with but are looking to save some money on the equipment side, you have the ability to go in and order equipment for them to install. Most of our customers see savings between 15 and 30% on the HVAC equipment than what they typically see with their local vendor at that time. If you don't have a good vendor or it's a new property and you're not sure who to use, we have the ability to self-execute those. So when you go into the marketplace, you'll see an option for equipment only or turnkey installs, which there's a screenshot here on the right of it, where you can go through and really select your system, and based off geographic area, it will tell you the price and the scope and the time frame available to complete that work. If you have no idea what's going on with your system, and a lot of people don't, so don't be too alarmed, we also have an emergency diagnostic button that you're available to use. So if your system breaks down, you're not sure if it needs a repair or replacement, you can select this option, which you'll see up at the top right here, emergency diagnostic, and it will dispatch one of our contractors to go out upon your schedule and really figure out what's going on to provide a quote to either repair or replace that system. When you select a system for replacement, we understand a lot of people aren't HVAC savvy, so we will actually double check and verify that you selected the correct equipment by, once we receive that order, sending out a technician for a site inspection to make sure that the AC 2-ton replacement is the right size, the right model numbers for your current application. If it is, we schedule right there on site with our team to bring the equipment out and get the job completed. If for some reason there was a mistake made on the scoping, we will review internally and provide an option of what we recommend for your facility. And from there, it's just based on approval to go and get that scheduled. This is something we're really excited about. It kind of gives you all the ability to quote out HVAC equipment and services at the phone level with your fingertips. And we're just really excited to get this going. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us and we'd be happy to help. So with that said, any questions at this time?
Yeah, Dave, we do have some questions. Relative to the standard way that people do business relative to HVAC, what made you in Motili make the decision to choose a different path via an e-commerce platform with SBOA?
Yeah, for multiple reasons. One, when we were introduced to SBOA, what we recognized was that they were very forward thinking in relationships and opportunities for their users. They have always been forward thinking of how can we make this easier on self-storage owners and operators. And we have played around with e-commerce platforms multiple times. And due to the size of what most owners operate on, a lot of them don't have a vendor that they're always looking for. So this is kind of a nice option for them to be able to quote out at their computer, get access to factory direct pricing, as well as be able to service their properties nationwide. That's something we're key on. We're in 49 states, all except for Alaska, and this pricing kind of falls in line with that.
Yeah, and on behalf of SBOA, I echo that. Having this tool available at the fingertips of every owner and operator, I think is really critical. Nothing is worse than having a system down and having to scramble to figure out what your solution is going to be, or pre-planning for the future relative to units on locations. Dave, another question relative to the scheduling. If I were to go on to the e-store and make a purchase, how long does it take to actually coordinate and get scheduling set up?
Yeah, that's another good question. Typically, in summer, we have different levels of services. There's an emergency or an urgent that you'll be able to select through that process. And emergency is a 24 to 48 hour turnaround. The only reason why we would not be able to fulfill that is if the equipment you ordered is on back order, or we need to transfer from one distribution point to another, and we would communicate through that. But typical turnaround is 24 to 48 hours from the initial request.
Great, thanks. I know another benefit that we have in the e-store is the ability to purchase via credit card processing, so someone can actually buy online with a credit card. If they don't want to use a credit card, what are the other methods of payment that you guys have in Motili?
Yeah, so we have two other methods. If you're not interested in using a credit card, we have the ability to set you up with an account where we operate on a PO basis, and you can purchase that way. Or we also have some additional financing options available if a system broke down out of the middle of nowhere and wasn't something you were planning for, and need to figure out a solution. We also have some finance options available for you.
Okay, great. If someone's not familiar with the equipment or doesn't understand what type of equipment they may need, a change in the facility, that maybe they need something different, how do they go about having you guys help them select what equipment that they need?
Yeah, HVAC can be pretty intimidating if you're not familiar with it, and we understand that. We have in-house customer service reps that all they do every day is read bids, look at model numbers, sub them to what the equivalent is. So if you're on the marketplace and completely lost of what you're looking for, or even just want to verify, hey, what I'm speccing out is the right system to order, you can call in to our customer support line, which is on the marketplace, as well as their email. And all we would need from you really is the model numbers of the existing system, and we can help you walk through of what we recommend for replacement.
Okay, great. And last thing that I wanted to share is, are you aware of maybe a success story that you could share? I know I have one, but do you guys have a success story that you could share relative to an SBOA customer that you've helped recently?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Janice touched on it before I jumped in, but This is part of our service offerings. We also do some preventive maintenance and asset tagging for capital repairs. So we've done a handful of preventive maintenance projects with self-storage that has been successful, especially when after a time like COVID where there hasn't been so much access to these units. But Southern Storage has been a customer and an SBOA member that has been pretty successful. I think we were introduced to them back in February, and they sent us a few properties and a few bids and with a scope, and we were able to price it out there, usually without sending a technician on site. In a few cases, we just needed to just verify that scope, but we were able to provide pricing, and the majority of the time they've been seeing savings on those, and we've been working with them here this summer, and it's been pretty successful.
Great. I did get a note from Bob telling me about his success with you guys, so I really appreciate you doing a great job from a service perspective as well as a pricing perspective. He took the time to send me a note and show his appreciation as being part of the family of SBOA in delivering great quality service and product. So I appreciate you guys for that.
Great,
I don't have any other questions. Is there anything else that you wanted to put some color around relative to the webinar today?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the ultimate news is that we've launched the SBOA Marketplace. We're really excited to see what you all think of it. And if you have any questions at any point, feel free to reach out to me via phone or email, and we'll be sure to answer your questions. And thanks again, Janice and your team for putting this on. These are always great events. So thank you very much.